Hey kids, you trying to get into Segment City? Well, you really shouldn't, because Segment City is a mature podcast, and listener discretion is advised. I'm just trying to look at... I know I'm in an alleyway. I know how I look, but I got some fireworks for you kids. I got snakes and I got sparklers. That's all I got. Oh, don't give me that.
Theo, sometimes you get out of the interview game and then you gotta go back into the interview game, and you got a little rust on you, I gotta say, as somebody who's interviewed recently. But you and I came from Northeastern University, which has a very big... they make it a point of being like, we're gonna teach you
We're gonna tell you how to do it.
Multiple classes. And something that I learned recently is that sometimes if you don't have exactly what they want for a answer, because you don't have the exact thing. Hey, tell me a time when you had a bad interaction with a customer or something. And I'm not going to be like, so this motherfucker came in. I don't have it, but I also don't have those. So sometimes you just keep talking until you find that answer. Eventually, it comes to a time like you'll eventually say enough things.
You're bipping, you're bopping.
You're saying things that you know are exactly what they want to hear.
Right. You're keeping the fish on the hook while you figure out exactly how to use the fishing rod.
Yeah, exactly. And then, you eventually get to a point where you phrase it like it's an ending to a thought. And then they go, wonderful, perfect.
Beautiful. That's exactly what I was looking for.
Because they've just been typing fast, trying to get everything down.
They absorbed nothing of what you said.
And as you see, I would then make the customer the king of the entire store. And thank you.
And I would say to him, sir, this hot dog has had radish on it the whole time. And you can see that you should not be angry with me. But at Heinz Corporation. But
at Segment City, every single one of our interviews, it's a math test. Quickly, do a quick pop quiz.
No, please.
Everybody, including the mayor. But the mayor was just the guy who studied basic math, like that one guy who got really far in Jeopardy by just learning stuff from a 5th grade textbook.
I'm surprised you didn't have any horror stories from your time working at the Five Brothers, the Five Men.
Oh, yes. I mean, that was the quickest interview of my life. That was not an interview. That was brief.
No, if they said, tell me about a time you had a bad experience with a customer, I'm sure you could have whipped something. This man wanted 40 burgers, and he was mad.
I'm not going to give too much away about the interview I had, but I did have to talk about that stuff more than my software development.
Yeah.
Just because of the nature of the role. And I did have a story of somebody who came into the back and she was around my age. She was bawling her eyes out. I was like, oh my God, somebody came in. They yelled at her. It was a whole thing. And then I was like, hey, what's wrong? And she was like, that woman, she wanted to buy the bags of potatoes that we have in the fire, and she wouldn't take a no for an answer. And I was like, I had to stop myself from laughing.
Mashed potatoes, I gotta have them, and I won't take no for an answer.
Listen, we had a white erase board, and we would write where it was from, and it was always from Idaho or Nebraska.
I was talking to a coworker today who said that she knew somebody. So she grew up in Idaho, and then she knew someone from her hometown that moved from Idaho to Ireland. And I made the joke, just couldn't get away from the potatoes. Just go from one potato destination to another. And she said, no, don't be confused. The person moved to Boston first before going to Ireland.
The truest Irish experience. Gotta have a little stopover.
Gotta do a stopover.
To all the Bostonian Irish Americans. You can wave to them as you go past. Goodbye.
Just bring your own. It's a BYO potato situation.
But we haven't even introduced ourselves. My name is Will Kane, and I think I'd be great for this role because, I have a lot of years of experience with being a podcast host, specifically here at Segment City. Although I don't really have a lot of experience with, interacting with our fans IRL, I think I wouldn't strangle them to death.
Oh. That's good. That's exactly what we wanted to hear. That's
brave.
That's brave. It's brave and bold of you to say, frankly.
Bold.
Honestly, a lot of people aren't going to want to hear that. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of our listeners are not going to want to hear that.
They're gonna wanna
very
be strangled to
And
death.
honestly, we don't
And
want
you
you
know
if you don't want to
what?
hear that. And I'm Theo Sopaklis, and I want to talk to the manager. Get the manager over here. I want to talk. Yeah, I'm a bad customer. Give me the manager. You don't know what I want. And I'm not leaving until I get those goddamn potatoes.
Those videos. And this is a podcast in which Theo and I, we dumpster dive our way through the internet, and we get those good comedy morsels, and we put them together for you into segments. And Theo, we're going to start with a Will's Stupid Thought that is fresh off the presses because I was listening to a podcast before this. I was exercising as I do. And it was about a thing about Griselda Blanco, who was her nickname is the Cocaine Queen of Miami, among many different names.
That's a powerful nickname.
Yeah, I think she was played by Sofia Vergara. What's the lady from Modern Family?
Okay.
She played her in a docu series that I saw. But anyway, there's something that I noticed though when it comes to stories about female criminals. And now on reflection, this might just be about podcast hosts and how their attitudes are. But there always seems to be a part where a female podcast host, when talking about a female criminal, will start like rooting for them in a way that you can't for male criminals. Like men never do for male criminals.
Like the person is on a murder spree and they're like, go girl.
Go girl. Yeah, they literally do like a little like, yeah, boss babe. Like
I think that says something where it's like deep down, every woman is like, fuck everybody. Actually, fuck everybody.
That bold, but like because it started because like some of the things I'm gonna say pretty cool because like she like designed or at least like commissioned people to make lingerie for women because she realized that women drug mules would get more drugs into the U.S. than male drug mules because people don't look at women as much, and so she made lingerie that had compartments so that women could like get tons of fucking cocaine into the country.
Listen, those are just my natural
really cool.
lady lumps. All right, those aren't cocaine.
But then it gets to the point where she has asked or like ordered people to kill hundreds of dudes. Ooh, they're drug dealers. Crazy. It's not like that. Like they're not the nicest dudes, but it's also like they're doing terrible crimes. And like and she even kills a bunch of her husbands too. Like she has like a nickname Black Widow, which she gets after killing 2 husbands, which I feel like you need more than 2. But
your standards. Listen, I don't mean to talk down to you, but you need to kill a few more than 2 husbands.
No, she already had like 12. She was called the Godmother. Like she was already too far. But like she killed one of her husbands outside of a club or something, and then she ends up getting shot. And one of the ways because there's multiple different like versions of events that they suppose.
Yeah.
And one of them is she shoots him, and then he kind of like dead man triggers and hits her with his Uzi. And for some reason, the podcast host is like, so what you're saying is that he fired first and that it's self-defense? And I'm like, no, she came to murder him. Like, what are you talking about?
It was a hit. It was a hit.
She came to specifically murder him for cheating on her. What are you talking about? It's like, hey, well, we don't know the whole story. Like, but it's just like in a way that you absolutely can't do for like you can't be like hell yeah. You can't be like I'm sorry. Like imagine your girlfriend on the couch next to you being like, I'm sorry, did you just say, oh no, they broke the combo when they caught John Wayne Gacy? Like, what are you talking about? Like, you can't do like.
Yeah, I feel real bad for the Golden Gate Killer. That's a real tragic. No, not the victims, just the fact that he got caught. There's really onto something there.
And he got caught by Ancestry.com. And
oh
that's
no,
true story.
Boy, that is true.
That is true. And like, you know what? He didn't put his DNA in. He should be like off for that. He didn't do that. But like, she also had like silk robes and stuff in prison. Like she was already a millionaire in prison and got all these extra treatment. They're like, work, like stab. Like, what the fuck? Like,
honestly,
literally anyone else.
If you're being pampered in prison, good on you.
That's
right, good on you.
Which once again, some of the stuff kind of cool. Like I'm gonna say like, as a
cool,
general,
kind of
but then
badass.
it comes to a point that even like in like Goodfellas, there's that's the classic arc of like, oh, it's actually pretty cool, except this is the price that you pay for crime. You get murdered, but like they're still being like, yes, like it's like getting to the end of Goodfellas where he's just like cocained out and just like running. He's like, I think this helicopter's chasing me, and being like, you know what? Sometimes that paranoia is true, girl. Like, what are you talking about? Why are you rooting for him?
What are you talking about? I love these
Anyway.
I love these wild takes that people have on podcasts. I was listening to a podcast and this one guy was like, he was like, I went to Iraq, and apparently in Iraq you can visit Saddam Hussein's like former palace. And like,
really?
Yeah, and apparently like they've turned it into like a driving range, so you can be like in his mansion and like shoot like, you know, like hitting golf balls, and you're like, something about this doesn't feel right. It's like something about this. I don't know. This doesn't feel good.
He's kind of responsible for a lot of deaths.
For like a lot, like not good.
I'm pretty sure he like invaded Kuwait. Like, I don't think that is good. But yeah, the podcast, like it was a guest on the podcast, and then they also said like something weird of like she was a woman back in the day, and I can't imagine being told no. But they phrased it in a way like I couldn't imagine being told no to anything. When the point that they're trying to make is like back in the day, women had less like power, and 100%. So it was,
100%.
to get to that. But the way she phrased it was like, imagine being told no, and I'm like, so you're just a weird spoiled lady. Like,
let me be clear. We should universally say no to everybody. Everybody should get said no to.
You know what?
Across
no more
the board.
podcasts.
Across the
Close
board.
out this podcast.
Close it down. No, just say
no.
no.
No more podcasts. We're out of our depths about everything. We don't know anything about
We're
anything.
idiots.
Imagine if the podcast has ended right now. Like we didn't put out more episodes.
No more.
But you know what? There will be more of, and I know for sure. Segments, and we got to get to your first one.
Speaking of idiocy, we're going to the takeout.com because it's idiot hour. It's like, what's that? Bong, bong. It's idiot o'clock. Bong. The bells are chiming. Bong.
What is
the time
relationship?
is bong.
The takeout.com.
The fucking idiot takeout. The fucking like, bing bong. It's time for me to flame you fucking takeout jerk offs. Come on. All right, let's go.
You go back and forth, and you're like, our Lord and Savior, the takeout.com is back to grace us with his presence. And then you're like, big bong, stupid o'clock.
Stupid idiots. Do something with your life. All right,
I'm ready for it.
This one's entitled The Spicy Peanut Butter Pairing You Need to Try on Your Next Segment. Stupid takeout.
On your next segment? Okay.
On your next on your next sandwich. On your next sandwich.
I did like that you made it Segment City themed.
I did. There's a little slip of the tongue there. Maybe intentional.
Now, I'm going to say at the beginning, I made a little noise there, but then I thought of delicious Thai food, where they have a lot of spicy peanut sauces, so maybe it's something like that, but the look on your face is saying, absolutely not.
Well, next time you're in delicious spicy Thai food, I'm going to hand you a pack of Wonder Bread and said, get in there. Dunk your stupid idiot bread in your stupid idiot sauce.
Oh, thank you. I'm a white man, and I need I just put in all the noodles.
All right, here goes the article. Picture this. You're searching for a midnight snack, but your cupboards are bare. Without many options, you grab a jar of peanut butter and 2 pieces of bread and call it good. Or you can modify that straightforward basic sandwich and add other ingredients. You know, it's really blowing my mind here. You're really breaking the mold.
But the thing is I know for a fact whatever they're going to say next is not going to be jelly.
It's not. It's
going to be something nuts.
Sure, you can add sliced bananas, honey, or even pickles. But if you're a spicy queen like me, sometimes you need more flavor to kick things up a notch. Really, really get in the mindset here. It is midnight in your house. The lights are off. It's time for bed. You've got one last bite before bed. One last bite. One more midnight ride. And then I'll call it quits for the day.
Yeah, I usually, nothing like a nice spicy sandwich to really peanut butter sandwich to really gum up your teeth before you brush them.
Luckily, there is an ingredient to amp up the spice level on a peanut butter sandwich without going overboard. Try adding fresh jalapenos.
You're
idiots, morons. Stupid.
Out of all the things, I thought they were gonna say chili flakes, chili oil. What's a third thing that would be?
Yeah, like chili crunch,
something
like
that adds. Like I thought it was just gonna be heat.
Pepper jelly even.
Pepper jelly would be actually that kind of sounds good. But crunchy, fresh. I raised my eyebrows when they said, you know what, maybe pickles. And I'm like, I guess if you want that sweet salty, this is like, hi, would you like some peppers with your peanut butter?
It's stupid. Listen, people go off script when combining ingredients that some would say should never be paired together. But without their creativity, how would we know if it's delicious or not? Peanut butter can be used to make salty and slightly sweet peanut sauce. So it kind of makes sense that it'd be a tasty addition to a peanut butter sandwich.
No.
The good news is that it totally works for fans with a sweet and spicy combination. Jalapenos are known for their mild heat and flavor, so they bring a little spiciness and savoriness to the sandwich without going overboard. What's not to love? Will, we have given the Takeout their flowers for how many? Maybe 150 episodes. And now it's time to take them to the fucking graveyard. We're going to take them to Slam Central Station and take them down a notch because they deserve it. Because the next segment, this next section is called How to Assemble Your Sandwich. Fucking morons. I can't believe that you would publish this. I used to love you, the Takeout. You used to be my hero. You used to mean everything to me. And now I'm here consuming your garbage. Oh, how the mighty fall. This is truly terrible to see. Unbelievable.
I love this villain arc so much. You are literally Electro from Amazing Spider-Man 2. You've been scorned by Spider-Man. He doesn't know you exist. 100% doesn't know you exist. But you know what? This is an offense to you. Because the Takeout, who else is... Who
else is here? I've been here the
ticker,
whole time. It's only been me, the Takeout.
For page views, it's one. It's you. It's the only one.
I understand you're trying to streamline your business by having AI write these articles. I get it. But for the love of God, come up with some better prompts.
I know how to make a sandwich. I know how to
do it.
I taught programming classes. That's one of the bits we would do is you have kids instruct you how to make a PB&J because that's to teach them that's how computers work. Anyway.
Stupid. This segment, here we go. Here's this section of the article. Making sandwiches is pretty simple, but you do need to remember to evenly distribute the ingredients so that each bite is just as delicious as the last. Yeah,
you know what? I was planning to put all the fucking jalapenos in a big stack at the corner.
Exactly. I was going to put a blob of peanut butter on one side and then not spread it around. That's what my plan was. Thanks.
Yeah, because in the sandwich, they're going to be warring against each other. So you might as well give them their own territory.
Cut jalapenos very thinly so your palate is not overwhelmed. When it comes to jalapeno and peanut butter sandwiches, you can also go for ingredients that introduce some sweetness, like pepper jelly, candied jalapenos, or a drizzle of hot honey. Those are all better options than the headline of your article.
There's so many better options. Literally, they said honey pairs well with peanut butter. Do we have the spicy version of that? Fuck that shit. Put the shit that they put in burritos in my fucking PB&J.
Go out to the garden at midnight. Collect your harvest. Then go back and make your sandwich.
Also, they had an earlier point of being like, they have like kind of similar to mine of like, there's spicy Thai peanut sauces that no. There comes a point, hey, I like bread. I don't like eating handfuls of flour. No. Because even though bread's made of flour, does not mean that if I put all the ingredients in a different way...
Just because you can deconstruct doesn't mean you have to deconstruct. It doesn't have to be like this. Another ingredient to utilize for the ultimate salty, savory, and sweet effect is bacon. Ina Garten's upgraded bacon is particularly good here. For a balanced flavor, just use about 2 slices per sandwich and you're set. For crunch, you can even throw in some of the best jalapeno chips. Whether you go basic or add extra ingredients, you'll be pleasantly surprised with the results. Spicy, nutty, creamy, and satisfied. This is a riff on the classic PB&J. Is sure to be your new favorite midnight snack. I guarantee you, Kendra Mahaffey, who wrote this, it will not. I guarantee you I will not be trying this.
Okay, so what they have posited to me is that my options are either, because they have an alternative with bacon, or did they say to also add bacon? Is that what
they said? They said that could be an optional add-on. Yeah.
Okay, but it's really, would I like heartburn? Or would I like heartburn and to follow Elvis Presley on the way out that he had?
Would I like heartburn and to die early?
Yeah, to die early on the toilet. Specifically on the toilet.
Specifically on the toilet. Would I like that? No, thank you. I'm going to say, you know what? Take out thin ice. Thin ice, my guys. All right.
I think their stakeholders think they're on thin ice too.
Yeah. You know, you hate to see it. You hate to see the fall of a giant. They say never meet your heroes, and I feel like I am actively meeting my hero. It's a prolonged meeting of my hero, and it's not a good experience.
Well, it's me, John Takeout.
John Takeout. Oh my gosh.
Theo Sapacos.
Yeah, that's me.
My most trusted reader. You read every single article, but you haven't been on in a while. What caused you to stop?
Gee, I don't know, John. Why don't you tell me, John?
John!
Since the middle of last year, you've decided your New Year's resolution was to produce crap for me to ingest over and over. Slop feed it to me. This is why I go over to PR Newswire myself, because of this bullshit, John. This is why I say I'm going through the slop and the trough when I get there to the PR Newswire, because it's truly garbage.
No, but you never say that about the Takeout. You don't say that about the Takeout.
No, I
you
don't, because they used to save me that from that.
Oh my god. Oh, well.
Well, I just hope we can move on from that. And I hope to God that our future holds better visits to the Takeout, but maybe we'll find out later. But for now, we'll have to go to your next segment.
Listen, it's not going to be much better because we're in the news.
In the news.
And this one also has stupid people and food. I got 2 stories for you, though.
Mm-hmm.
This first one is a perpetrator who might be the stupidest criminal I've ever seen.
That's saying a lot, but you have heard of me.
You have heard of me. I mean, he's not. This is a common trope in criminal investigations, from what I've seen. Dentist who poisoned wife allegedly plotted to kill detective investigating her death.
Yeah, you could come by the office. I'll give you a root canal, and then you can have a look around for any evidence you might need.
Hey there, doc. Do dentists usually have big scalpels? Oh, man, that looks like a machete.
Let me just spray a little water in your mouth. Hey, gee, doc, that looks like a Glen you're putting in my mouth there. Whoa.
And this is from December 1st, 2024. I got this from Townflex, which, okay. But James Tolliver Craig, not Oliver, James Tolliver with a T. The Colorado dentist accused of poisoning his wife to start a new life is facing additional charges after allegedly attempting to have a detective killed. The 46-year-old, who is being held at the Arapahoe County Detention Center, is now charged with solicitation to commit murder and perjury in connection with an alleged plot to kill an Aurora police detective investigating the death of his wife, Angela Craig.
What does it mean, soliciting to murder? What does that mean?
He is getting a hitman to kill.
Oh.
I'm surprised you didn't. Have you watched Tiger King? Because that was a big word used in Tiger King a lot.
That was such a flash in the pan. We were talking about it before the pandemic, before the podcast. We were talking about the pandemic. I remember nothing from those years. Well, genuinely nothing from those years. So
Not surprising coming from you, your girlfriend, who have told me on multiple occasions that you can't remember movies, and you're amazed that I can.
This is it's a glorious lifestyle. Well, I get to watch my favorite movies and properties over and over again.
You forget it every time. I'm committed to having memory, but. Police claim that Craig tried to get a fellow inmate to carry out the murder once in May and June 2023, and again in October 2024. So he asked 3 times, hey, I know you're busy. I know you're in jail with me right now. But when you get out, could you kill this guy?
But could you? Would you? Did you?
The detective had been crucial and investigated Angela Craig's death, which authorities believe was caused by poisoning. The charges were announced just days after Craig's attorney withdrew from his case, citing a professional conflict, which delayed his trial, which I think is a code for this man is a psycho asshole just trying to kill everyone around him. James Craig had previously been charged with the first-degree murder of his wife. In March 2023, he was arrested after Angela, 43, died from complications linked to poisoning. The investigators believe that James used potassium cyanide and arsenic, which he allegedly slipped into his wife's pre-workout shakes. Yikes!
Not good.
Not good, but I'm going to say pretty good disguise method.
Babe, I was just trying to build up your immunity to arsenic. Babe.
Come on.
Come on, babe.
There's a very famous Black Widow, which is what people call women killers who kill a lot, especially their husbands. And there's one that her famous dish was a prune pie, and she kept on putting arsenic into the prune pie because it disguised it really well. But
but who's out here eating stop eating prune
exactly.
pie?
So, if somebody offered me a prune pie, I'd be like, "Can you give me grape pie? Like, give me these
Could you
a
offer
dry
me
pie?"
any other type of pie?
But Angela had complained about feeling faint and dizzy, leading to multiple hospital visits before her death on March 15, 2023. An investigation revealed that James had been researching undetectable poisons, and evidence showed that he had been in a relationship with a Texas-based orthodontist. So dentist-to-dentist relationship.
When are we going to get this? The first crime where someone is like, they would try to commit a murder, and it's like, well, the facts are you asked ChatGPT how to murder somebody, and so like we have that.
That's been. I mean, there's a very famous case of them flubbing that because Casey Anthony, who wrote into, they didn't know about Firefox. They only searched her Internet Explorer, and then on her Firefox, she had a search of like how to dispose of a dead body.
No
like,
way.
Yeah, that's why everyone is like, yeah. So Casey Anthony
definitely did it.
She did it. But she just got off on criminal charges. She was acquitted, I should say, on criminal charges. Craig allegedly planned to start a new life with the woman once his wife was gone. Angela's death was ruled suspicious after police found evidence of cheating and an ongoing marital struggle, and with James reportedly addicted to pornography.
I think I rule this one. This one's awfully suspicious, don't you think?
He keeps going to. We're checking his internet searches.
You see, boss, there's a lot of internet happening on this suspect, and it's pretty suspicious.
It's a suspicious. But you know what's also... Speaking of, if somebody offered me food, would I eat that? This next article is from Ars Technica, and it's from October 11, 2024. Rare bear meat at gathering gives 10 people a scare, and parasitic worms.
Oh.
If you're going to eat a bear, make sure it's not rare. You'd be forgiven for thinking that once the beast had been subdued, all danger had passed, but you might still be in for a scare. The animal's flesh can be riddled with encased worm larvae, which, upon being eaten, will gladly reproduce in your innards and let their offspring roam the rest of your person, including invading your brain and heart.
I didn't want to know this. This is gross.
To defeat these savage squirmers, all one has to do is cook the meat to at least 165 degrees Fahrenheit. But that simple solution continues to be ignored.
If you're going to eat a bear... At
cook
least
it through.
Cook it. Don't be absolutely an animal.
Who's out here though being like, I would like a medium rare, please. Oh, I'm having my bear fully rare.
I'm having fully rare.
Apparently, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's Morbidity and Mortality Weekly Report, in this week's issue, health officials in North Carolina report that rare bear meat was served at a November 23rd gathering, where at least 22 people ate the meat and at least 10 have developed symptoms of a worm infection. Yeah. Of the 10, 6 were kids and teens between the age of 10 and 18, which I feel really bad for. Yeah, that's like those kids didn't. They
trusted the adults.
Yeah. The infection is from the roundworm trichinella, which causes trichinosis. While the infection is rarely fatal, the nematodes is a bad word. I don't want, especially
I don't want those in my body. Thank you.
The nematodes tend to burrow out of the bowels and meander through the body. Not great. I'm gonna say, don't like those words.
Stop meandering through my body. I don't want anything meandering.
No meandering.
No waltzing through my body. No having a quiet stroll. None of that.
No. A telltale sign of the infection is is facial swelling caused when the larvae take harbor in the muscles of the face and around your eyes. Once again, this
gross.
If we don't want to continue with this, stop doing
this is nasty.
But
when did I enter X Factor? When did that happen?
But I mean, this is another part of this that you could get this from various like pork things, wild game, including bear, but also boring moose. The North Carolina officials noted that, quote, thousands of bears are harvested in the state each year, which is just a fancy phrase for they murder them for their meat. Yeah. Harvested is, I feel like a nice term.
That's a very nice way to put it.
But they say, hey, just cook them through. Please stop.
Please stop. How hard could it be?
But that's the extent of the article. Hopefully your next article is less icky.
I hope it's less icky.
But I just brought that up because I thought it was these people were in for a surprise, and also
Ugh.
parasites. Like, who's eating bear meat? Are we in fucking Red Dead
I
Redemption?
think I need a palate cleanser. Here's a little inter-segment interlude. Will, as a sub-objective of 2025, I almost made this one of the rules.
Okay.
But I didn't. I admitted it. My thought was I wanted to eat more fruit this year, and it's been going very well.
Okay, this is a good. I like this.
I've
bought
fruits? Since it's at the end of, we're running out January. I've bought kiwis twice. Love a kiwi. You just have that as a snack.
Kiwis rule.
You just get a spoon, you scoop it out. It's a good handheld little snack. I've eaten.
They're a little acidic though.
A little acidic.
You can't have too many.
No, you can't have too many. I go for like one, cut in half, eat it.
It's nice. Nice.
I've eaten mango this month. Bought it for myself as a little morning treat. Love mango. That's great.
Some nice mango.
And I've been eating a lot of pomegranate. Pomegranate's a winter fruit.
Oh.
And I recommend it out there. Go grab a pomegranate. Yeah, it's a little pain in the butt, but then you get your girlfriend to do it, and you just reap the rewards. Easy peasy.
You just, for a moment, you became a wealthy 18th century. Oh, yes, you just get your wife maid to shrunk the pomegranate for you, and it is truly a delicious little treat.
But yeah, that's been my fruit moment in this new year.
Because I'll go to like Wegmans is a place I go to a lot, and they'll have like star fruit or like dragon fruit. I've always wanted to try those, but I'm too afraid.
I'm telling you, right? So one time I bought papaya from Wegmans because I wanted to try it. Tried it, brought it home. I ate it. I was like, this is not that good. Like, I was like, I don't get the hype around papaya. Like, I don't get it. And then I went to a place where papaya actually grew, and I had papaya, and I was like,
Fresh
Wegmans lied to me. Turns out Wegmans a big fat liar pants because papaya is pretty darn good at fresh. So
I've had durian, which is the very smelly,
stinky. You had it?
Spiky. Yeah,
I didn't know you had that. Where'd you get it?
It was at a friend's. I forget if it was. I think it was Chinese New Year, or it was one of those New Year celebrations.
Nice.
But they just had it, and they also had a bunch of like wafer durian things.
Yeah,
it smells fucking awful.
It smells like skunk and butt. It smells like skunk butt.
I described it as it smells like the worst eggy farts with gasoline.
Yeah,
like if
it's got a sharp note to it. Not good. But then everyone's like, but don't worry, like it has a mild sort of nice taste.
Yeah, the problem is your nose. It gets in. If anyone's ever tried to like taste food while having a stuffy nose, you know that the nose is a big part of it. So no matter what, it's gonna be like in your nose. I didn't like it.
They say you eat with your eyes first. You definitely eat with your nose second, and then your mouth.
But the thing is, you have to hack open a big spiky thing and then pull it like organs, basically. Like it's like they go, taste, and then
taste so fine,
and then they go, it'll be a nice mild flavor. What's the point then?
I did all this for a nice mild flavor. Not worth.
Oh man!
Thanks for that fruit interlude. That was a good one. I'm gonna keep trying to eat some more fruit. I'll report back.
Do it.
Next up is another in the news. I've got a few short articles for you. First one is from Euronews.com. It's entitled, Pope Francis warns that excessive scrolling causes brain rot. He knows. He's in.
Listen, everybody. I have looked on the Oxford Dictionary. Brain rot is the word of the year. That's the only way I know it.
The only skibbity you need is a Christ.
What do you mean, Skibbity toilet? Where is Skibbity, Ohio?
What about Skibbity God? You ever heard of this? Pope Francis made the remark. Pope Francis expressed concern over the impact of social media, warning against excessive scrolling, which he described as causing brain rot.
Which he described as extremely ironic.
I've been scrolling the Bible for years and look at my rotten brain.
The fact that he posted it on social media that people are scrolling through is very ironic to me.
Pope Francis made the remark at the Jubilee of the World of Communications in Rome, at an event which attracted around 9,000 journalists and writers from 138 countries, both in person and online. The Pope also urged Catholic journalists and media workers to be courageous truth-tellers and bearers of hope in an age marked by conflict, division, misinformation, and skibbity toilet.
The Pope really is just the CEO of the Vatican, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. I'm having a meeting.
Yeah, let me get all the business. I'm going to just make big, broad statements, but not actually do jack shit. Yeah.
Francis called for storytelling that nurtures life and inspires hope.
Okay.
The event featured notable guests, including Nobel Peace Prize laureate Marie Ressa and Filipino-American journalist, who spoke of her personal experiences of persecution and emphasized the role of journalists in protecting democracy and truth.
Okay.
We don't need to keep going. I just liked that he was like, it's a brain rot.
Stop it, it's brain rot. By the way, is that the same Jubilee that they announced that anime mascot that we covered a couple
It's the same one. Yeah.
Because if not, I'm like, these motherfuckers are throwing a lot of Jubilees.
A lot of Jubilee.
How many Jubilees could you have in a year?
Next article comes to us from showbiz.com. Only the most premium.
It's PR. It's PR Newswire, but they know how to hang.
They know how to do it. Florida deputy resigns after crashing patrol vehicle while watching adult videos. That's taxpayer money at work, baby.
Okay. Because we all know that they have the little laptops in their patrol cars.
They have the little laptops.
So is he just like, oh.
A former deputy has resigned amidst an investigation into an accident involving a patrol vehicle crashed, allegedly caused by his distraction with porn on his phone. According to reports from the sheriff's office, the deputy's actions led to a violation of professional standards, including the misuse of electronic devices and failure to wear a safety belt. My man couldn't even strap in while he was watching it. Come on.
Also, because I'm glad that they said it was a phone, because I did get the vision in my head of like a fucking Naked Gun sketch of like him pulling out a magazine and he has a centerfold and it's coming down. And like one hand,
this is the stuff.
He goes, oh yeah, and he takes the other hand off the wheel and he starts like putting his down his pants and the wheels just starts like going around. And he's like, whoa.
The incident took place on County Road 435 near Creston Avenue, close to Sorrento, just before 2 p.m. The deputy rear-ended a vehicle that had stopped due to a school bus with activated lights in the opposite lane. Initially, the deputy claimed his brakes malfunctioned due to a recent speed calibration, but subsequent investigations revealed a different story.
These are the most sharp brakes I've ever seen. They're not dull.
These brakes are fine. What really happened?
It was also, that's so cartoonishly like he crashed into a car that was stopped for a school bus. Like while he was being like, "Hey, how do I disrupt innocence even more?" Like, whoa!
It was a peaceful scene on Pleasant Street.
It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. Really, it was only the worst of times.
Upon reviewing dash camera footage and body-worn camera recordings, you moron, investigators noticed the deputy was holding a cell phone in his right hand moments before the crash. Despite initially stating he was checking work-related text messages, it was later discovered that he was actually viewing inappropriate images or videos on his personal phone. Further scrutiny of the footage revealed that the deputy did not remove his seatbelt before exiting the vehicle, indicating a deliberate attempt to conceal his actions. Despite attempts to deflect blame towards technical issues, the deputy eventually confessed to the true cause of his crash, his engagement with explicit material on his phone. Buddy boy couldn't lie his way out of this one. Truly the best of us.
I wonder if he did the like asshole thing of like, who hasn't done it? Okay, well, throw the first stone.
I never saw in the rules saying it wasn't allowed.
Like
I thought it was sort of Airbud rules.
It's kind of like Elon Musk with something that we haven't brought up, but is a big news story, is Elon Musk throwing out the Nazi salute. And then he's now being like, he first was like, it's not what you think, and now he's making Nazi jokes, and it's like, okay, then what the fuck was it then? Like,
in the news, I was skirting around a lot of depressing stuff that really did happen in the news today, but we're not a podcast that covers any of that. So my third article, the last one I've got for you.
We cover parasitic bear meat.
Yes.
We don't cover real news.
This one comes to us from CNBC.com. It's entitled, David Einhorn says we have reached the fart coin stage of the market cycle.
Einhorn? What are you doing?
What are you doing, Einhorn?
Well, you can't have fart coin unless you have poop coin.
It's sort of a pump and dump situation.
And you know what? Pee coin. It happens every time I do the poop coin. So you get 2 of those, whatever you get.
That's the exchange rate.
We're at the fart stage.
Greenlight Capital's David Einhorn thinks speculative behavior in the current bull market has ascended to a level beyond common sense. Quote,
Oh, really? You
we
think?
we have reached the fart coin stage of the market cycle, Einhorn wrote in an investor letter obtained by CNBC.
Makes me laugh every time.
It's so good. Other than trading and speculation, it serves no other obvious purpose and fulfills no need that is not served elsewhere. This guy gets it. This guy
No,
gets it.
100%. It's
A crypto token called Fartcoin exploded in popularity as the recent election of Donald Trump unleashed a storm of animal spirits on Main Street. I don't know what that means. The meme coin is now edging towards a $2 billion market value, surpassing many U.S. listed companies.
What? I'm sorry, for fart coin? Like we're not talking about Donald Trump's coin.
No, we're talking about literal fart
We're
coin.
literally talking about fart coin. I thought the Doge coin was the pinnacle of memedom. But there's coins for everything at this point, though, right? It's just like every single company.
Okay,
because
yeah. the peak of Fartcoin was a valuation of basically $2.50 per coin. It's fallen down to $1 per coin, but it's still in total the market cap is still $1 billion for Fartcoin.
That's insane.
That's insane. What are we doing? That's nothing, guys.
Crypto is so fascinating to me because now it's been on the block for we talked about crypto when it was first coming out, and even then we were like, what's the point to it? It only seems to be feeding into itself.
So
It's now just speculation. Like they say, like the guy made a very good
speculation.
point. I loved his of just like it's only for its own sake.
I think we've made our stance on this podcast pretty clear how we feel about
multiple
crypto.
times.
We don't want you here if you're a crypto enthusiast.
Crypto,
we don't want you.
AI.
More meme coins have emerged since the inception of Fartcoin. Trump launched Trump Coin, a meme coin built on the Solana platform. Its market cap over the week climbed past $14 billion. The coin at one point was down more than 20% over the past 24 hours, but since has cut its losses to around 3%. Trump's wife, Melania, also unveiled a coin.
She has her own coin? I didn't know about that.
Yep.
That's insane.
Nothing stops the launch of many more tradable coins, Einhorn says. Perhaps we are leaving the fart coin stage of the market and entering the Trump and Melania meme coin stage. It's anyone's guess as to what will happen next, but it feels like it's going to be wild. What a time to be alive. This man has to report on fart coin.
Yeah, the fact that I think he's going to be posting that at the end of every single article in the Trump presidency at this point. Like, this is the wildest bullshit I've ever seen in my life. What do you know?
Dumb. But we're here to report on all of the news that doesn't matter. And to continue that, we're going to you for our next segment, Will.
We will. And you know what? This is going to be a Wikipedia historian.
Oh.
About a interesting, fancy little fellow. Keyword little, because this is the Wikipedia historian about Jeffrey Hudson.
I don't know about Jeffrey Hudson.
Now, Jeffrey Hudson, who was born in 1619, was a court dwarf at the English Queen Henrietta Marie of France. He was famous as the Queen's dwarf and Lord Minimus, and was considered one of the wonders of the age because of his extreme but well-proportioned smallness. He also fought with the royalists in the English Civil War and fled from the Queen to France, where he was. But he was expelled from a court when he killed a man in a duel. He was captured by pirates, but we'll get to that. And
we're gonna get to that.
But we'll go to his early life. Hudson was baptized in Oakham in Rutland in the 14th of June, 1619. Which Oakham in Rutland sounds like the most British place to be born.
Very British.
His parents, 3 brothers, and half-sister were all average size. Hudson's father, John, who was keeper of the baiting bulls for George
I hope
Villiers.
that my future family is on Wikipedia and they go, they were all about average size, except for that one boy.
He was tall as shit. He was the tallest boy I've ever seen in my life. Hudson's marvelous smallness and normal proportions became apparent in early childhood. Various theories existed for his size, including that his mother choked on a gherkin, which is a pickle for anyone who doesn't know, while pregnant. But he, but he probably
Wait, so
had
they're gonna blame him being small on the gherkin?
This is what I love about this one sentence, because they say it was either that or he had a growth hormone deficiency caused by a pituitary gland disorder. So it was either
gotta be the gherkin.
Complete bullshit of the time or total scientific fact.
God.
Those are the only two theories proposed for it. In 1626, Geoffrey Hudson was presented to the Duchess of Buckingham as a rarity of nature, and she invited him to join the household. A few months later, the Duke and Duchess entertaining King Charles I and his young French wife, Queen Henrietta Marie, in London. The climax of the lavish banquet was the presentation of Geoffrey to the Queen, served in a large pie.
Huh, okay.
When the pie was placed in front of the Queen, Hudson arose from the crust. 18 inches, or 46 centimeters tall. They say he's a foot and a half tall.
That's it?
18 inches.
That's
is
so
what
small.
They say. Now, I will say, this is one of those parts that further in the article, he does get, like, as I mentioned, he gets captured by pirates. After that, he goes, I had a big growth spurt, and now I'm this height. Like, where he says he grew up, and I'm like, eh. They also have paintings of him. In to my eyes, he looks like he's about the size of a 3-year-old. Like, he's that height.
That's small, though.
That's still small, though. But that's more little person size than 18 inches. Then again, in this
18 inches is truly tiny.
He's like prepubescent at this point.
Okay,
though. He's like 10 years old in this. But he was 18 inches tall and dressed in a miniature suit of armor. The Queen was delighted, and the Duke and Duchess of Buckingham.
Don't do that to my man. Don't do that to them. Don't make him dress up like that, my man.
This is a sign of the times that this was in, and it's so wild to me now. The Duke and Duchess of Buckingham offered Hudson to her as an amusing gift.
That's some 18th century shit.
They gave a person, like, this is so Game of Thrones, even though, like, little, because, like, at Joffrey's wedding they had that whole, like, mock,
a man
like, little
with
person,
a big
all the
cock.
kings.
that's the gift.
But it's like that. It's that same level of, like, bullshit that they're in. But this is like 1600, so it's even more wild. But let's get into Hudson at the Queen's court. Hudson moved into Denmark House in London in late 1626, where the Queen maintained her royal household, with its many French attendants and Catholic priests. He was one of several natural curiosities and pets, among whom were a giant Welsh porter named William Evans, 2 disproportionate dwarves, and a monkey called Pug.
A monkey called Pug? That's not confusing at all.
No, that's not confusing at all. They also have a painting of Queen Henrietta and Geoffrey Hudson with the monkey. I can send you it right now.
Show me the monkey.
It's a cute monkey. It's a tiny
cute monkey. I love that little guy. He's so small. He's like the size of the little kid's forearm.
Yeah, he's just a little. What's the
just a little guy?
Yeah, just one of those little guys. I was trying to think of the specific breed that's tiny, but anyway. He later developed a routine with Evans in which the porter pulled Hudson out of his pocket along with a loaf of bread and proceeded to make a sandwich. So he would do a bit where he'd be like, "What am I going
What's
to have
in my
for
pocket?"
dinner?" He pulls out a big loaf and then he pulls out
pulls out the kid.
And then he puts up and he goes, "Oh man, what are you doing?" He's putting mayonnaise on the one side. Oh man. As he matured, Hudson learned to amuse and entertain guests with his wit, courtly behavior, and appearance. Dwarves were not rare in the courts of Europe, but Hudson's proportions and tiny size made him uniquely famous. His size was repeatedly described as 18 or 19 inches, and he was reported to have grown little between 7 and 30 years of age. He was often... Yeah, but I think to explain maybe the later growth spurt, I have heard that men can sometimes go through like a second puberty around 30. That's just like,
you're telling me I gotta go through a second puberty? I already did the one.
It happens to some people.
What, I'm going to end up 8.5 feet tall? Come on, let me live.
Oh, no. So white.
Then I'm going to put you in my pocket.
But he was often cast in picturesque roles and the elaborate costumes of masquerades, which were staged by Inigo Jones for the amusement of the court. In 1630, Hudson was included in a mission to France at the age of 10 years of age. Although the principal purpose of the mission was to return with a midwife for the Queen's first pregnancy, Hudson was likely sent for the appreciation of the French court. On the return journey across the English Channel, their ship was captured by Dunkirk pirates, who plundered the ship but eventually released them to return to England. Hudson's second trip across the Channel occurred in 1637 at the age of 18, when a group of courtiers traveled to the Netherlands to observe the Siege of Breda. Once again, another pastime thing.
Wait, you could just go and be like, I'm going to go to a war zone to just see it happen?
Yeah. That was as the Dutch were attempting to expel the Spanish army. So they literally went to the Netherlands to be like, isn't that neat? Like that was actually this American Civil War, the first battle. There were people who were picnicking next to it. God. Literally. And then they were like, isn't this going to be grand? And then the cannonballs started firing and they went, this is fucked. Like, we need to get out of here.
You know, it's a good thing that doesn't happen anymore, because you'd show up and they'd be like, bet $5 through FanDuel on who's going to win, and you get your first bet free. You're like, no!
Kevin Hart's there. He's advertising it himself. But Hudson was educated in the Queen's household and learned some manner of the court, as we already said. But this only helped him a little bit in the coming of the Civil War and the dissolution of the court. Now, I have to say, I know information about a lot of wars. I don't know a lot about the English Civil War. It's okay. So that's going to just as a reference. I'm not going to know all that much about this war, but by 1640, the relationship between King Charles and the Parliament had deteriorated to plots and attempted arrests. Armed conflict broke out between the Royalists and Parliamentarians in 1642. As Charles led the Royalist army, the Queen took a small number of retinue, including Hudson, to the Netherlands to raise money and support for him. We're literally doing a TV charity fund.
NPR needs your help.
Yeah, exactly. But it was for the
We'll
king.
give you a cool tote bag if you support the king.
Now, this is one of those things where they use a word and I don't know if it means what we think it means, because they say by selling articles from her palace, she raised enough to buy some supplies for the Royalist army, but unsuccessful in obtaining official support from the Protestant Dutch government. Now, articles could either mean I'm writing things that I'm then sending out to people.
Stuff.
Literal stuff.
I think that's literal stuff.
That's what I also kind of thought, but I also thought that they would be too proud and not want to do that. Like, that
I think that at some point you have like a basement full of different dinnerware that's all gold, and you're like, we probably don't need this.
Yeah. But she returned to England with her courtiers, and they found themselves in the middle of a civil war. Oh, whoopsie, you're still doing this?
Oops. I thought this would all be wrapped up by the time I got home.
With a nice bow, please. They were able to join Royalist forces at Oxford. The Queen appointed Hudson a captain of horse. It is not known whether he commanded troops or saw combat in one of the
or if he commanded troops or just
raids, or if he was literally just
troops
a figurehead.
or just horses.
Horses, go there.
Go.
Still, he considered the appointment an honor rather than a joke and continued to style himself as Captain Geoffrey Hudson later in life. This is going to be a continuing theme where he is done with the jokes.
He's no more jokes. He's done
with
the
He's
jokes.
had a lifetime of jokes. He is starting to be like, you know what? I think
take me serious, actually.
Geoffrey Hudson needs a little bit of respect around here.
Put some respect on my name. I've been a court jester for too long.
As it became apparent that the war was broadening rather than concluding, the Queen fled to France in 1643 with a small group of courtiers and household staff, again including Hudson. Although they were warmly received in France and provided with space in the Louvre Palace, the Queen was ailing after a difficult delivery, and soon she moved her court in exile to the spa at Nevers. But this is where you get into that duel I mentioned. Royalist courtiers collected around the Queen, but Hudson had no interest in resuming his role of pet or clown, and let it be known he would suffer no more jokes or insults.
No more jokes or goofs.
There is no precise offense offered. There's no record of the precise offense offered, but in October 1644, Hudson challenged the brother of William Crofts to a duel. Crofts arrived at the duel brandishing a large water squirt, aka a squirt gun. He came with a water squirt gun.
That's insulting.
But his flippancy would lead to his death.
Dude,
Hudson fatally shot him in the forehead.
Whoa!
Especially for a tiny guy, he has to aim real fire.
Brutal. like if he wasn't gonna shoot you before the duel, you showing up with the water gun, he's like, I am absolutely killing a man today.
I can imagine this as a movie scene where he comes and he's like, "Oh, a little water gun for a little man," and then like it's the like pans in on Jeffrey Hudson's face as all the noise like goes out, and he's like, just noise, and he just shoots him right in the fucking head. That'd be a great scene, but that's
challenging someone to a duel used to be just a way to get rid of somebody.
Yeah, they would. There's a lot of duels.
This town ain't big enough for the two of us. That was it.
But not in these days, because Croft's death was a disaster for Hudson. Dueling had been outlawed in France, and this could be considered a transgression against hospitality.
Oh, no. Against hospitality.
Yeah, those rules were like
he invited you to a sword gun fight, and you shot him in the forehead.
I mean, to be fair, he did agree to the duel. Like, both of them agreed to the duel.
Right.
So but
it was outlawed at that point, so...
Yeah, but I understand, like, in terms of, like... it also being against hospitality. I guess that's because the guy was part of the court he was visiting or like being allowed into.
Right.
In addition to the fact that William Croft was a powerful figure as the Queen's master of horse and head of her lifeguard, Hudson was initially sentenced to death, but Henrietta Marie interceded for his life and he was sent back to England. So even though he didn't want to be a pet, but in the end he gets saved by kind of being a pet.
By being, you're right. Yeah.
Let's go not a great look, but now we get into the pirate part. Hudson's movements after leaving the Queen's Court in late 1644, aged 25 years, are unknown. Within months, he was on a ship captured by Barbary pirates. Hudson was enslaved in North Africa, where he spent perhaps his next 25 years laboring.
Whoa.
That's his entire lifespan. Until then, he then spent as a slave. The date and circumstances of his rescue or redemption are not known. In the 1660s, several missions were sent from England to Algeria and Tunis to ransom English captives, and his first documented presence back in England was in 1669. No details of his captivity were recorded except for one fact. He claimed to have grown to 45 inches, 110 centimeters during this time, doubling his height after 30 years of age. So that's why I brought up he did.
So now he's he's short, but he's no longer like a novelty about how short he is.
No, he's a few feet at this point.
Right.
So yeah, he's
like 3.5, almost 4 feet tall. 4 feet tall, basically. 4 feet tall.
Which is, I think,
which is definitely small.
Yeah, but that's in the range of normal proportional dwarfism.
Right.
From what I've seen. But which he attributed to the hardships he suffered. So he literally said he did the Conan exercise. Conan the Barbarian exercise of let me push a wheel in the desert for 30 years and then I will get jacked. Yeah. That's not how that works. The few contemporary records of Hudson's years between 1669 and his death in 1682 consist of a few receipts of grants of money from the Duke of Buckingham and the new king. So he literally was like, could he give me a little...
I need a little...
He didn't return to the Queen's Court even after the royal restoration in 1660 in her return at the invitation of her son, Charles II. She resided in London for only 5 years, fleeing to France during the London Plague of 1665. She died in France in 1669 when Hudson first reappeared in English records. So they never got to say goodbye to each other, I guess.
Weird.
Hudson lived in Oakham for several years, where he was interviewed, and a short record of his life was made. That I think they did it on purpose, honestly, by James Wright, the antiquarian. In 1676, Hudson returned to London, perhaps to seek a pension from the royal court. He had the misfortune of arriving at a time of turbulent anti-Catholic activity, which included the popish plot of Titus Oates. And
he came home being like, listen, I was a jester for you for a long enough time that I deserve a little bit of kickback in retirement.
Here's the nuttiest thing. He gets fucking arrested.
For what? What did he do?
He was in prison for a, quote, for a considerable time at the Gatehouse prison for being a, quote, Roman Catholic was his only recorded offense. But he was not released until 1680. He died about 2 years later of an unknown date and in unknown circumstances, buried in an unmarked Catholic pauper's grave.
What? That was how he went out?
Yeah, a payment from Charles II in 1681 is the last record of Hudson. But
wow. So we don't even know where his body is at this point.
No, that is actually an interesting point. I don't know if we could maybe investigate it, but they did say it was an unmarked pauper's grave. So I guess he didn't have the money for a proper grave.
Wow.
Which is very sad because he like is in a lot of paintings. He seemed like an okay dude. I feel bad for his life circumstances that he was fucking like gifted to a queen at
insane
like a baby
as like a
basically.
novelty. Yeah.
Ugh, yeah, there's no good. But you know what? We can look back at the past and say, wasn't that an interesting figure? What is that? That man he shot another man.
He shot a man in the forehead. Maybe we should just call it even. I don't know.
But we've gotten to the end of the episode, Theo. I know. It's sad. Everyone's crying right now.
Everyone's crying.
Tears running down their face. But
they zoom in. The camera zooms. You're running down. And then the noise goes out. And then bang.
But if you have any tales of revenge or interesting history tales or, you know what, anything to make it so that Theo doesn't have to go into the trenches of PR Newswire, if you could email those to segmentcitypodcast@gmail.com, we would love that. Also, if you enjoyed this episode, consider giving us a review or a star rating on your podcast network of choice, whether that's Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, any of them. Also, check out our YouTube where we have full episodes, and check out my YouTube, Golly Gee Willikers, where you can watch video reviews of movies, games, and also some fun history things. If you enjoyed our little history thing at the end of this, I have a couple of history tales. So check those out. And we have a big thank you to give to somebody in particular.
That thank you is to Rachel Robinson. She does our intro music, and she has amazing other music you can find on your music streamer of choice. And some say that she's gone off the grid. We can't seem to find records of her, but when she does reappear, she'll have doubled in height.
What?
That's what they say. I'm just saying what they say.
She's
That's what they're saying.
12 feet?
Is Rachel Robinson 6 feet right now?
She's probably going to be like around 10 to 11 feet.
Like 11 feet, yeah. So there's some people saying that.
Somebody said that.
Some people
it's Theo saying it right now. So somebody is
technically saying it.
But you know what people are saying on iwaspoisoned.com? They say it. I was poisoned.
I was poisoned.
I was food poisoned. I got two that are that just are both about diarrhea and both made me laugh.
Oh,
so
no, it's not about the diarrhea.
This first one's from Pizza Hut in Baltimore. I ordered boneless honey barbecue chicken. And just after eating it, I got diarrhea nonstop, running to the bathroom with stomach pain.
Nonstop.
And then the second one is from a hot dog from Aldi.
Oh, no. Don't eat the Aldi hot dog.
Arkansas.
Don't do it.
Especially in Arkansas hot dog. Parkview hot dogs making my son and wife ill with nausea, vomiting, and pure liquid diarrhea.
Pure liquid goes.
This was pure liquid diarrhea.
I inspected it myself.
I looked in. I said, "Honey, are you feeling okay?" I looked at the bowl and I said, "That's."
I felt around for solids. Nothing. Felt nothing.
Liquid. That's.
This is all pure liquid.
And this right now is pure podcast ending outro.